Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and similarly to one of my previous video, last weekend I was playing around in a TapHome system that I helped installing in a new house, and I was thinking about some fun stuff that we can again integrate. And so there are a couple of Sonos, well actually IKEA Symphonic, I think it's called Symphonic speakers that are Sonoff compatible in the home. And there is one in each kid's bedroom. And you know what I thought? Well, the bedrooms are upstairs, and the main living room is downstairs. So there is always this problem that you have to yell the kids like, come down for dinner, wake up, we have to go to the school, that sort of stuff. So I know that Node-RED can handle Sonoff. So just like how I did with the GRI integration, I should be able to just make the connection between TapHome to Node-RED, and from Node-RED to Sonos, in order to make these speakers to play something. So the idea is that there is a dedicated button in the kitchen or the living room, and if you long press it, then it starts a virtual, well, it pushes a virtual button, and whenever that virtual button is pressed, I get that information in Node-RED, and in Node-RED I can tell the Sonoff speakers to play like a wake up MP3 music, whatever, or I can do something like, please come down, the dinner is ready, the lunch is ready, breakfast is ready, something like that. Okay, so in this video I'm just going to tell you how I did all this integration, and it's actually fairly simple. So as I said, we need a device in TapHome in order to trigger all these events, and for that, obviously these are not a physical buttons that you can trigger. I created a virtual device, and this virtual device is this one. It's well, everything is in Hungarian, so it's called good morning, starting or triggering good morning audio. And you do this, and then I did this by clicking on add device. Oh, by the way, we are in the settings. So if you scroll down here, you go to settings, and then virtual devices and add device. And it was, push button. And I just given it a name, this push button, and I put device type play, and I given it an icon, but you can pick a different icon if you want. So this is the icon which is used, and this is the virtual device that I will use in order to get a notification in Node-RED that I need to play an audio. And what I have done here is I used an existing smart rule, which is configured for one of the the light switches. So I have this particular light switch, and then when that light switch is just pressed, then it toggles one of the lights in the kitchen, and if it's long pressed, then it triggers this virtual button, and then just the press event. So all it does, it just sends a press event to this virtual button. And now I use the same expose devices functionality that I just talked about in one of the previous videos when I did the GRI AC integration. So I created a new interface, and I created an integration protocol TCP that you can see here. And because I've already created a couple, now it is on port 10,002. The first default value is 10,000, so I use 10,000, 10,001, so this is 10,002. And I also enabled auto send. So that's important, because then TapHome is going to send Node-RED information whenever this button is, whenever this virtual button is triggered. And of course you have to add the device, and I added this virtual device button. And you can see here that it actually sends information. So it will send, so whenever this button is triggered, then it will send an information of the device ID, which is 1. And then the next one is going to be, it's always going to be okay, because it's virtual. So, it cannot be communication error or battery low or anything else. And then the action that we configured in the smart rule was a click. So it will send a message which says 1,0,1. And of course, because it's just a click, it just sends one event or one message. And this is all that it takes to configure this. So we configured a virtual button and we configured all the integration in order to get this information in Node-RED so we can act on it. So this is how the Node-RED part of it looks like. And then before we look at it, let's just look at the nodes that you need to install. So I use the Node-RED contrib Sonos Plus in order to control the Sonos speakers. And once you install that, you can go into the import section, and then there is a example that I used, and it's called the 07 notification example. And if you import this example, it's going to import you this part of the flow that you can see here. So I have two of them because I have two speakers that I want to control. And as you can see, this flow gives you an example how you can play a specific MP3. So all you have to do within the payload, you have to provide the URL of the MP3. So you can just say to Sonos speaker that, oh, here is a URL, please download this URL and start playing it. And then the rest of the flow that you can see here manages like cues and volumes. So first of all, in the change node, you can set that the volume should be like, 40% volume, and some of the other things control like, queuing this new audio file. And then when you double click on the Sonos node, then you can just configure what device you want to select, what device you want to control. And all you need to do is you need to provide the IP of the Sonoff speaker, which is, in my case, is 170. But if you click on this magnifying glass button next to the IP, it's actually going to list you all the Sonos speakers in your house or in your network. It even gives you their names. It's very easy to get. And because we are using the IP to talk to these devices, it is a good idea just to fix these IPs. So if you go into the router settings and within the DHCP settings, usually there is an option here that you can specify that for this MAC address, which you can see in the device list, what is the IP that your router should always give to this device. So obviously, in my case, from now on, this particular Sonos speaker would always have 192.168.0.170, which means that this flow is going to work, and our integration is not going to be broken when the router reassigns the IP to this device. So that's important to do. So once you've done that, then if you click on this inject node, it's going to play this foghorn sound at volume 40. And I tried this flow, and if the Sonoff speaker is already playing something, it will stop that cue and start playing this audio. So next, what I had to do is actually create the integration between TapHome and Node-RED. So we can receive the messages from TapHome whenever we trigger that event. So first I created a TCP request node, which you can see here, and that is configured to connect to the TapHome server. That you can see the IP there, and that's the port of the server. So that's the one that we just created, and we are looking for a string. We keep the connection alive, and we delimit the by \n the messages. And in order to start this connection to the TapHome server and also keep the server alive, or to keep the connection alive, I created this inject node which fires when the Node-RED starts, and it also repeats that every 60 seconds. And so if for whatever reason the connection is broken, then this inject node firing in the next 60 minutes is going to reestablish the connection. Maybe this is the reason I could have used UDP instead of TCP, but it's already done. Maybe in the next version I can look how this would work with UDP. Maybe it's going to be better. So once the information comes, as I said, what in my case is going to look like, I have only one device with a device ID 1. So it would send messages 1,0,1 every time this is triggered. Like in my case, the button is long pressed in the kitchen. So here I remove the new line character at the end, and I split the text by comma. So I just find it easier to process if I have it in an array instead of one single big string. And then we have a change node, and then we look at the device ID, which is message.payload0. So for me, I only have one device, so there is nothing more here, but I could have done like, you know, if it's 2, 3, 4. And in that case, I could have created multiple of these, you know, nodes here, sorry, multiple of these virtual devices, and I can add them to this integration. So then the device ID would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can use this same flow for, you know, multiple sort of audio triggers. So maybe there is one for, you know, good morning, or, you know, come down for breakfast, or come down for lunch, or, you know, somebody is at the door, somebody is pushing the doorbell, or even you can have buttons that would do certain things with Sonos. I mean, this or playing audio is just one single example, but there is a lot of other things that you can do, like, you know, maybe you can start your favorite podcast or audio, like a radio station or playlist, whatever. Okay, so for me, if the device ID is 1, then we know that that trigger is fired by, in our case, long press. So all we need to do is we need to define the MP3 that I want to play. So in my case, I just created this audio file on my computer, and I saved it, and I just wanted to put in a place where it is accessible by Sonos on the local network. So it's easy for a Sonos speaker to download it, and it's quick, and then just can play it immediately. So in my case, we had a NAS in the home network, and this NAS has like a web server functionality. So I just copied this MP3 file in a NAS, and now it is available on this IP address. And probably you can do the same if you have a NAS server, or maybe you can even use the Node-RED server for that. So in the payload, we just put the URL, and then we send this information through these link nodes to the, well, in my case, both of these Sonos speakers. And it would just start playing the audio, and that's it. I don't really have to do anything else with that. So that's the integration, and that's how this flow works. So when you go down in the video description, you will find a link, and that link is going to contain this part of the flow that you can see up here. So that's the communication with TapHome, you know, the conversion and the change, the switch and the change node that you can just easily modify for your application. And as I said, the rest of the flow here that you can see here, you can just import it using the Sonos example. And basically the only thing I've added to this is just these link nodes. So, I mean, you don't really have to do the link node, you can just wire them manually as well. Basically, you just have to wire this into this change node, which sets the volume before it goes to the queue. So it is very simple to do, and for this audio, you know, playing notification, playing a fixed audio, it is, you know, very easy to do. And as I said, you can create multiple of these triggers, you can assign multiple of these virtual devices, you can assign them to the same integration, and then all you need to do is to change this trigger type change node, and you have to add new options, like if the value was 1, well, 1 was that case, but maybe if the value was 2, 3, 4, and you can just you know, set a different URL that points to a different MP3 which does a different announcement. And really, that's all there is to it. So I hope you like this maybe somewhat silly example, but I think it just gives you an idea of the options that you can do with the Sonoff speakers, how you can do, you know, like virtual triggers in your house in order to, you know, make your speakers to do certain things around your house. So I think that will be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.